Howdy everyone, and welcome back to Hot Glued Together. Today we're going to be making some horns out of a shit ton of pink insulation foam. This is 3/4 of an inch thick. It was about $10 for a piece that's like the size of a door. I needed something that was about that big, that wide. Got a lot more than I needed, but you know, just more for horns. And it was 3/4 of an inch thick. And these are for her Imperious Condescension, and I cut out 3 pieces each, so they're about that thick, and I'm going to sand them down using 150 grit sandpaper, and that's just to start out with. And also a hot glue gun to glue them all together. And once I start sanding, I have an electric sander here that I haven't plugged in yet. But to protect myself, because safety first, says the person who stapled their finger the other day. And this is where my video stopped recording and I didn't notice. But basically, hot glue everything together and sand it into oblivion. This here is a shot of the horns before sanding it into oblivion. And in just a moment, there we go, after sanding it into oblivion. As you can see, it's a lot smoother and there's still some holes in it, but overall it looks a lot better than it did before. After the sanding process is done. The lower the grit of your sandpaper, the rougher your product is going to feel, but the higher the grit, the smoother it will be. Use multiple grits of sandpaper, moving from the lower up to the higher, so that you can get the best results. I would recommend smoothing it out completely, or as much as you can before painting. Here I've applied some wood filler to all of the holes and let it dry. You want the holes to be filled in, otherwise of course you're going to have holes all over your horns, which you really don't want. And with wood filler you want to sand that out, so yay, more sanding! But just sand it out until it's all smooth, and then after that apply a layer of Mod Podge, or in my case I used wood glue. Once you're done with all of that wonderful sanding and wood filling and whatever else you've done to your horns at this point, you want to add a layer of white paint. I used acrylic paint because that's what I had on hand, but the reason you do this is so that the colors, when you paint them on later, are going to show up a lot better than they will if, for example, your horns are yellow, like mine. here on my very dirty paint palette are the colors that I'm going to be using to paint my horns. A yellow, an orange, a red, and a dark kind of berry color. These are going to be Homestuck horns, and they're going to go in a color from yellow at the top to orange towards the middle, red at the bottom, and then the darker color along the very bottom edges. And once you finish painting these, please add a sealer of some sort, because I didn't, and then the paint began to crack whenever I hit them on something because they are foam, so they will dent if you're not careful. But yeah, add a sealer, and after that, you'll be all done. Again, we have another oopsie from me, where I forgot to record painting the other horn as well as what they looked like in the finished product. But even with those little mistakes that I made, hopefully you found this video helpful, and you'll be on your way to making great horns in no time.